Imagine volunteering for a challenge so brutal, so unforgiving, that even battle-hardened soldiers break down in tears. There are no medals waiting at the end, no cheering crowds, just pain, silence, and the cold Australian wilderness. For 21 relentless days, candidates are stripped of food, sleep, and every comfort they've ever known. Their bodies collapse, their minds fracture, and yet, a few keep going. Why? Because at the end of that suffering lies one of the most respected symbols in military history, the sand-colored beret of the SASR. This isn't just training, it's psychological warfare. And what happens inside those 3 weeks has turned into legend. This is the world of Australia's most secretive and punishing selection course. Deep in the heart of Western Australia lies a unit that almost feels like myth. The Special Air Service Regiment, or SASR, is the country's most elite fighting force. Formed in 1957, it was modeled after the legendary British SAS, sharing not only their training style, but also their ruthless motto, "Who dares wins." But this wasn't just a copy. The Australians built something uniquely their own, a force designed to survive and dominate in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. From the blistering heat of the outback to the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, the SASR became masters of endurance, stealth, and precision. Over the decades, these men have been deployed in secret operations from Vietnam to Afghanistan, carrying reputations so fierce that even other soldiers call them snake eaters and chicken stranglers. Those nicknames aren't insults, they're marks of respect. They mean these men can live off the land when everything else fails. But the glory and legends came at a price, one that starts long before a soldier ever sets foot in combat. Because to wear that sand-colored beret, you must first survive something. Far worse than war itself, the SASR selection course. And that's where the real story begins. Before anyone even dreams of joining the SASR, they have to prove they belong in the same league as Australia's finest. There's no shortcut, no back door. You can't just walk in off the street and apply. To even be considered, you must already serve in the Australian Defence Force, or be a citizen of Australia, New Zealand, or the United Kingdom, with at least 2 years of solid military experience under your belt. Only then are you allowed to stand at the first gate. From there, the preparation begins. Candidates must complete the Infantry Operations course, a 72-day ordeal that covers the absolute fundamentals, from close combat drills to advanced weapons handling and tactical movement. This is where ordinary soldiers learn to think and move like warriors. But passing that isn't enough. Next comes the Special Forces Accelerated Infantry Training Program, 6 weeks designed to strip away whatever comfort or confidence you think you have. Every skill you've learned so far, navigation, communication, fieldcraft, endurance, is tested and torn apart, then rebuilt from the ground up. And as if that weren't enough, candidates begin a 15-week physical training program built specifically to destroy weakness. It's not about building muscle. It's about finding limits and pushing past them until nothing's left but instinct and willpower. Only those who survive all that, plus a series of punishing medical and psychological tests, are finally cleared to attempt what comes next. Because passing the first gate doesn't mean you're ready for selection. It just means you've earned the right to face the storm. If the first stage was about preparation, this one is about survival. The Special Forces screen test is where the real separation begins, the point where confident soldiers turn pale. And only the truly relentless push forward. It starts simple. On paper, candidates are told to complete an obstacle course in under 50 seconds. Sounds doable, right? Until you realize every muscle in your body is already screaming from weeks of non-stop training. But that's only the beginning. Next come the numbers. 60 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 10 pull-ups. Miss the mark, and you're done. No second chances, no sympathy. The instructors aren't looking for the strongest. They're looking for those who won't quit, no matter how much it hurts. Then comes the endurance gauntlet. A 2.4-kilometer run carrying a 7-kilogram rifle, and it must be finished in under 11.5 minutes. For most, that's fine. But remember, this is after weeks of exhaustion and zero rest. And right after you cross that line, there's no time to celebrate. Because next, you're ordered to complete a 15-kilometer march, this time carrying 28 kilograms of gear, and you've got less than 2 hours and 20 minutes to make it. Fail one test, you're out. And just when you think you've earned a break, they throw you into the water. You'll tread water for 2 minutes, then swim 400 meters in under 18 minutes. Sounds easy, until fatigue kicks in and your body feels like it's made of lead. By the end of this stage, roughly a third of the hopefuls are gone. Some collapse from exhaustion, others are pulled for safety, and many simply can't keep up. The SASR doesn't care how tough you think you are, it only cares who can perform when everything starts to break. And for the few who somehow make it through, the real nightmare is about to begin. Because this was just the filter. The true test is what comes next. This is it. The moment every candidate fears and every soldier dreams about. The SASR selection course. 21 days of physical torment, mental warfare, and absolute exhaustion. It's not designed to train you, it's designed to break you. On average, only about 20% make it to the end. The rest quit, collapse, or are quietly told to leave. Day 1 starts deceptively calm. Candidates are told to write an essay. Who are you, and why do you belong in the SASR? It seems simple, but it's a psychological trap. Instructors read those words later and use them to test your mental walls. Then, everything changes. The candidates are ordered to strip. Watches, clothes, even dog tags. Every comfort and identity is taken away. Standing in silence, they're confronted by female soldiers who question and push them, breaking every boundary of comfort and control. That night, they're loaded into trucks, driven 2 hours into the darkness, and dropped into the bush. From there, they march 8 kilometers through the cold, carrying their full kit, until they reach a barren outpost known only as the embassy. They sleep for barely 2 hours before being jolted awake at 2 a.m. by shouting and floodlights. No breakfast, no rest, just endless physical training, push-ups, sprints, lifting, crawling, for hours, sometimes with weights, sometimes without. It's not about fitness anymore, it's about control. The instructors want to see who obeys orders when their brain is screaming stop. During the day, candidates are pulled aside for psychological interviews, often by former SASR operators. They stare through every answer, looking for cracks, fear, doubt, ego. Those who slip are quietly marked for removal. By day 3, exhaustion takes its first victims. 1/3 of the group is gone. Some are medically withdrawn, others tap out voluntarily, not from injury but from sheer mental collapse. They just can't go on. On day 4, the pace shifts from mental to physical destruction. The group faces a 20-kilometer loaded march, each man carrying 28 kilograms of gear. You have 3 hours and 15 minutes to finish. Fail, and you're done. The following days blur into one another. Obstacle courses, blacked out, underwater challenges, and high-platform aerial crossings that push even seasoned soldiers to panic. Every failure is public. Every mistake costs the group. You'll clear mock buildings, gather intel in role-play exercises, and handle interrogation scenarios that feel real enough to break your sense of reality. Instructors play the enemy. Loud, unpredictable, relentless. By day 7, you've lost count of hours. You've been awake more than you've slept, eaten less than you've burned, and marched until your knees throb with every step. Still, there's no end in sight. Then comes the part they call the solo nav. 2 days and nights of cross-country navigation through 70 kilometers of harsh terrain. No rest, no backup, no teammates. Just you, your compass, and the endless wilderness. Candidates develop blisters, fractures, and heat exhaustion. Some are pulled out unconscious. Others simply vanish into the bush, found hours later in tears or confusion. When they finally return, their reward is nothing. Just another round of PT at dawn. By day 10, half the candidates are gone. Then, without warning, comes the happy wanderer. It sounds friendly, but it's anything but. Each candidate is dropped alone in a remote mountain range, carrying 50 kilograms of gear. The mission: cover 150 kilometers in 5 days, navigating only by map and compass. No sleep, minimal food, no communication except for an emergency radio. Checkpoints are hidden at the tops of mountains, spaced 20 to 25 kilometers apart. You climb until your legs give out, and when they do, you crawl. Many hallucinate. Some talk to shadows, others just walk in silence, hoping they're still moving the right way. At the end, instructors assess your performance, how you handled yourself, how you coped alone. If you fall behind or show weakness, you're done. Some cry when they're told to leave, others just nod, too tired to speak. Fewer than a third make it past this point. But the ones who do face the final trial, the lucky dip. Ironically named, it's anything but lucky, for 5 days, candidates are kept in constant motion, team exercises, interrogations, and combat simulations. They get almost no food, no sleep, and no breaks. The instructors observe everything. Who leads, who listens, who falls apart. They'll make you carry heavy loads across impossible distances, move strategic resources, or plan missions while barely conscious. The point isn't to succeed, it's to see if you'll still try. On the third day, they finally give you food, a single bowl of boiled rice. It's your first real meal in days. By the end of day 21, the men are barely recognizable, sunburned, hollow-eyed, and moving like ghosts. They've lost weight, sleep, and any sense of time. But for the few who endure, the suffering is almost over. Because if you've made it this far, you've faced something most humans never will, your own breaking point. For most people, surviving 21 days of torture would be the end of the road. But for the few who make it through SASR selection, it's not the finish line, it's the beginning. When the final day ends, there are no celebrations, no applause, no medals. The instructors simply look down a line of exhausted men and call out names. Some are quietly told, "You're done." Others are told, "You're moving forward." On average, less than 20% of the original candidates are selected. The rest go back to their units, broken, humbled, and changed forever. But those who pass aren't SASR yet, not even close. What follows is another 18 months of reinforcement training, a second mountain of endurance designed to turn survivors into specialists. Every month focuses on a new skill set, and each one can send a candidate home if they fall short. They'll master weapons handling, demolitions, heavy arms, and long-range patrolling. They'll learn parachuting, urban warfare, combat survival, and stealth reconnaissance. Every drill is fast, harder, and less forgiving than anything before. They'll be taught how to live undetected behind enemy lines for weeks, how to infiltrate with zero trace, and how to think like the people they're hunting. The training doesn't just build soldiers, it rewires them. For many, the psychological toll is worse than selection itself. There's no clear finish line, no daily praise, just pressure, repetition, and the constant threat of being cut. A single mistake, one moment of hesitation, and you're gone. By the time those final months are over, even fewer remain. Some leave due to injury, others due to mental fatigue. Only those with unshakable focus and discipline make it through. And when they finally do, they're handed a simple piece of fabric, the sand-colored beret. No ceremony, no words, just a look of acknowledgement from the instructors, a silent message that says, "You've earned it." From that moment, they're no longer candidates, they're SASR troopers, part of an elite brotherhood built not on pride, but on pain, endurance, and trust. Because the SASR doesn't make heroes, it makes survivors. After everything they've endured, the physical torture, the sleepless nights, the endless drills, you'd expect the reward to be massive. But the reality is, it's not about the money. When a soldier earns the sand-colored beret, they don't become rich. They don't get instant fame or luxury. What they do get is something far rarer: respect. Financially, a qualified SASR operator can expect to earn between $110,000 and $135,000 a year, depending on rank and deployment bonuses. That might sound impressive, but for the sacrifices they make, months away from family, missions shrouded in secrecy, and the constant risk of not coming home, it's a modest price. The bigger shock comes when new members realize that their rank resets. Even a decorated sergeant from a regular unit joins the SASR as a private during reinforcement training. Here are no shortcuts here. Everyone starts from zero. Promotions within the regiment aren't based on time served or seniority. They're earned through performance, trust, and leadership under extreme pressure. You don't climb the ranks, you prove you belong there. And then there's the other kind of cost, the one that doesn't show up on a paycheck. The mental exhaustion, the isolation, the weight of missions that can't be spoken about, even to their own families. Many operators spend years away from home, living in silence about what they've seen or done. But ask any one of them if it's worth it, and you'll get the same answer every time. Yes. Because for them, the real reward isn't the salary or even the beret. It's the knowledge that they've become part of something few will ever understand, a silent brotherhood that stands between chaos and order. For the men of the SASR, the reward isn't glory, it's purpose. In a world that often celebrates comfort and convenience, the SASR stands as a reminder of what true endurance looks like. These men don't chase fame, fortune, or recognition. They chase excellence. They endure what most can't even imagine, not for applause, but for purpose. Each of them walks through pain, hunger, and isolation to prove one thing, that when the nation needs them most, they'll be ready. The SASR isn't just a special forces unit, it's a symbol of resilience, brotherhood, and sacrifice, a living testament to the motto, "Who dares wins." Their story matters because it reminds us that greatness doesn't come from comfort, it comes from courage. So the next time you hear about the SASR, remember, these aren't just soldiers. They are the few who dared to go where others wouldn't. Who dares, wins.